Good morning. Well, I guess good afternoon. Welcome back. So it's been a really interesting week for me. There's been all kinds of things that have come up. So I want to start by saying Jupiter has just gone into Gemini. So Gemini, like I was talking about last week, is like more airy and thoughts, and it's quicker, so it's quicker thoughts. So Jupiter is now in Gemini, which means that our thoughts are getting an expansion and a restructure. And that's going to be happening for like the next 8 months. So a lot of mental structures will probably be broken down and reestablished. So this week I kind of had a lot of shadow work I was doing. Actually, I really dove into my shadow this week. I had something come up where somebody was kind of trying to exert control over me in a like egotistical manner, or their energy was just kind of dancing too close to mine, rubbing me the wrong way, and it was making me super mad. This came at a time where I have recently been letting new connections in, so I've actually been allowing myself to connect with people and grow and build stronger relationships, which is not something I did in the past because I was always in narcissistic relationships. So I suffer from narcissistic abuse, which I didn't even realize until this week. So that was a fun chestnut to uncover, I guess. So when I noticed this person treating me in a specific way, which is kind of like, when somebody like says some shit to you and you just know, or like says some shit about you right in front of you, and you're just like, well, the audacity of this motherfucker. So that kind of happened to me, but I had to kind of figure out what I was going to do about it, and I kind of got really in my head about this, and I was going back and forth, and it led to me sticking up for myself. So I absolutely got into the energy of, fuck this, I'm going to go ahead and say what I have to say to advocate for me, because like sometimes, especially like weird, like some people pleasers, if you're around them, it's weird because like they want you to like them, but also the person I'm around is like they want you to like them, but they also act like a dick, but then they also want your opinion on things. So you're like, where the hell is your energy? Like, what do you actually, what? I don't really think they know. I think they're just kind of going with whatever whims come along, but whatever. I know who I am. I'm going to stand solid in my foundation and in my ground. So where does unconditional love come into this, right? So how do we be unconditionally loving while standing firmly in what we believed, and while we're creating who we want to be and what we want out of our lives? So for me, I went back and forth about it, and it was a lot because I'm kind of have a overthinking mentality. I got the analyzer mind, the problem solving mind, and so sometimes I overanalyze things, and when I get like that, I start experiencing psychosomatic symptoms. So because my mental is kind of what I like to call it's friction, and then friction starts arising in my body, and then I feel like like I'm like bursting out of my skin, and I hate it. So psychosomatic, if you ever feel like that, then you're thinking too much. Okay, so back to, how do we act unconditionally loving while staying firm in our boundaries and standing up for ourselves? That's a good question. So we want to make sure that we are, so I I have a tendency to get overreactive, so I kind of have to bring it back in. And also I have a natural part of me that's kind of like a rebel. Like I was always the kid that was like in debauchery and anarchy and doing everything that everyone said not to do, like that. Like, what? Why? Let's challenge society. That was always me. So that kind of happened at work when, you know, some things came up and I had to stand up for myself. But then I'm thinking, like, how, because now I'm not that person who I used to be. So when my trauma comes up and somebody's acting like this towards me, I like to shut down. So my trauma shuts me down. Then I get very, like, it's me against the world, because that's like how it was, like, when I was a kid. It's me against the world, and like oh god. And then I start throwing little tantrums and just like being a bitch, and then I kind of get a joy out of being a bitch. And hey, we all have a dark side and a light side, so I'm not hating on anyone's darkness or their light, because I know I was born into darkness. I made a home in the darkness. I was, like I said, in debauchery and rebellion and just with the people that partied a lot. I didn't just grow up in darkness, but I made a home in there, and I came out, which I think is why now I didn't realize it until the other day, because I'm like, for a long time after my awakening, I was stuffing the darkness down, because, you know, basically all of New Age says, like, oh, to avoid the dark or whatever, like subconsciously manifesting darkness or all this stuff. And I was afraid of it, but then I realized, like, why the fuck am I afraid of it? Because, like, I've literally lived fucking 30 years there. So anyway, I started tapping into the darker qualities of me, which, like, the bitchiness, which I love. I love my bitchiness, and I honor my bitchiness. And when I need to pull that out and bitch someone out, then I will. But that was a little bit of a distorted way to do it. So how can I now do it in a more loving way, where I'm standing my ground? Now I'm learning to speak kinder, like, instead of just being a fucking bitch. Like, I'm just gonna be like, okay, this is how I see things, and this is where my boundaries are. And sometimes if they keep being mean, I just, like, my energy says what I need to say for me. So if you, like, feel yourself getting into your body, and then, like, you feel your confidence and you feel your power rising, right, and creating a barrier around you. And what I just do is I look at the person, and then I, like, imagine my third eye flashing to them. And then usually, like, I don't know, you guys, energy is crazy. I've been, like, noticing with customers lately, like, the more, like, I give love freely, the more, like, I laugh with them, I see their energy, like, come back to life, and, like, and then they'll, like, express gratitude, or they'll, like, get a gleam in their eye. It's crazy how just, like, little things can affect people. And especially the more empowered you become, the more powerful you become, the more your energy has an effect on someone. So the reason why we still want to be loving while setting our boundaries is because the ultimate act of rebellion is to give love freely. Because in a society that calls love weakness, love is an alchemical energy. So when you're handing it, when you're expressing it, and you're just talking, and you're just unconditionally seeing and loving someone, and that's going to cause an alchemical reaction in them. It's going to trigger. It's going to it sends signals inside it, and whatever they're willing to receive, in whichever way they're ready to take that transmission, that's just, everyone's different. And so we don't need to necessarily, like, go to, like, the guys' table where they're all, you know, like, planning for war and flip it over, anything like that. We just have to be loving, stand strong in our boundaries, and just make sure you're creating the life that you want to create for you. You can't control other people. Also, don't be complacent. Don't stand, like, on the sideline when you think that something should be different. Say it. Because that's not what you're meant here to do. If you're like me and, like, you have that rebellious nature, you're not here to become complacent. You're going to say what you need to say. You're going to say it how you mean it. And the power of truth is huge. Your truth, speaking your truth, will encourage others to also speak your truth. Leading with love will encourage people to also lead with love. Being who you are will also encourage people to be their more authentic self. It's just, you just have to take that first, like, it's like the first little guy that, like, jumps off the cliff into the water, and then everyone's like, yeah, let's do it. It's like that. So love is the rebellion. I mean, we don't have to, no, we can get caught up in our warrior embodiment, embodying the warrior, but there's a heart-based warrior too, and she knows that the highest form of expression of love is through being kind to everybody, because you know what, the people that are in the dark and that can't receive the love, that are getting triggered, are the ones that need it the most. And you don't know what this little energy can do. It can make a huge difference in a lot of people's lives. You just don't know. So don't feel afraid to set your boundaries, stand up for yourself, but also speak your truth. And I think that's all I have for today. I'll see you next week.